Hello, my name is Garth Ellis Kesterson, and today I am doing my senior project about Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder, also commonly known as FASD. I am here interviewing fetal alcohol advocate David Boulding, who is also a lawyer from Canada.
Hello, Garth.
Hello, David.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Actually, is it what, 10 years ago we first met?
Yeah, I probably like 15,
Long time ago.
long time ago.
Okay. So I'm excited to be here, and there are no wrong questions, Garth. So just ask me anything, and we'll explain it, because this is not an easy topic. Okay.
Nope.
This is difficult stuff, and I see you've got some questions here, and I don't have a problem if you read the questions at all, because I've been doing this for about 15 years, and I'll tell you something, Garth. Everybody, whether you're in Alaska or in Australia, you ask the same questions.
All right.
So what's the first question?
What is a fetal alcohol spectrum disorder?
Well, that's kind of a really big question, so let's break it down. Fetal alcohol is a brain-based birth defect. It's permanent. And it's caused when the mom drinks alcohol while pregnant. Now, a lot of people get excited about marijuana and heroin and cocaine, but if the mother is taking those drugs, that effect disappears very quickly, usually within a year. But alcohol goes into the bloodstream of the mother, goes into the bloodstream of the baby, and then is in the baby's brain. But it also affects the baby's joints, the liver, the face. It affects all parts of the body. But I want to focus on the brain. So what happens in fetal alcohol is the brain is missing pieces. Do you know, ever seen your mom use nail polish remover?
Yes.
That's how alcohol works on the brain cells. It bubbles them away. They're not there. Now do you want to learn something very important about how to explain this to anybody?
Yes, please.
Okay, put your hands like this. The baby's brain is a disc, like a quarter,
Yeah.
but it's the size of a pinprick. So it's very small. And this disc grows and grows, and in 9 months, this disc becomes a ball. And your thumbs, that's the frontal lobes, and these knuckles are the hemispheres, and you gotta imagine, I don't have fingers down there, but so brain development is a disc becomes a ball. Okay? Very important you get this. 10 or 15 days, this disc the size of a pinprick grows and grows and grows, and when the baby's born, their brain's about this big. Okay? So here's what happens. Now, mom drinks alcohol. Now take your chin and run your chin around the ends of your fingers, okay? I know it looks kind of stupid, but I do this so you can remember this. You've now put some alcohol on the edge of that disc. You have now killed a few cells on the edge of that disc. Okay? So now you've got some cells that are not there. Okay? Just like if I chopped your leg off, it's not there. And so what happens is you get normal brain development, right? It develops up. You have the frontal lobes. So what parts of the brain have we killed?
The inside.
The inside parts. And the thing about this is that the damage is often done and the women don't even know they're pregnant. So it's a very difficult problem. And here's another way to look at it. Put your fingers together like this. Now, a normal brain is like a sandstone pyramid.
Yes.
99 floors of solid sandstone. Kids with fetal alcohol have a sandstone pyramid with skylights. Okay? And then you have a normal brain, 99 floors of sandstone, and it has an elevator that goes to all 99 floors. And it has a special elevator that goes to certain floors in a hurry. You know about fight or flight response.
Yes.
And well, the problem with kids with fetal alcohol is not only do they have skylights in this pyramid, but their elevator doesn't go to all the floors. It might only go to floor 87. It might only go to floors that have a 3 in them. It's very unpredictable. So alcohol does two things. It kills brain cells and it connects them to the wrong brain cells. This means that the brain has reduced cognitive power. You know the difference between the engine in your mom's car and the engine you've got on your legs in your bicycle? Your mom's car's got a lot more horsepower. Well, some brains, because they're missing pieces, have a lot less horsepower. they can't get as much stuff done. Does that help?
Yes. It does.
Okay. What's your next question? Take a look at your list.
How does a child get FASD?
Well, this is a very important question. There's only one way.
One.
It's not because of bad parenting. It's not because of genetics. It's not because of your environment. The only way to get fetal alcohol is during pregnancy, your mother has to drink alcohol. There is no other way around it. The name says it all. Fetal, meaning baby, alcohol. This means it's 100% preventable.
And how's it preventable?
Don't drink while you're thinking of having babies. Most women drink and get pregnant without knowing it, sometimes 30 or 40 days in. And it's very interesting who drinks the most. In California, women that drink the most have 4 years of university education, are white, and live at over 400% above the poverty line. White women drink twice as much, as a rule, than women of color. So that's quite interesting, isn't it?
How's that been proven?
Very simple. California is quite a smart bunch of people. And what they did is if you go to a California hospital to have a baby,
Yeah.
there's this computer form you fill out, your name, your age, you know, who are you, a little bit about you, and they ask a couple of questions. They know your income, they know your color, and they ask you a little bit about, you know, how much did you drink? And most people are in a hospital. I said, well, I did this and I did this. And they've been doing this now. This information is it's been going on for 10 years. It's computer generated from California hospitals.
Very interesting.
I think it's very interesting because a lot of people like to blame mothers. I've been doing this work now for 15 years, Garth, and I have yet to meet a woman that got drunk because she wanted to harm her child. The question is, why do women drink? Well, they drink to self-medicate. They drink because of relationships and lack of money, lack of education, lack of jobs. People drink because usually their heart is broken. And they figure, I'll just take a few drinks and I'll be cool with the gang. It's a form of self-medication. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying don't drink. But if you're sexual and planning on having children, the risk is too big. Okay?
Excuse me. What kind of facial features are there?
That's a technical question, and here's the technical answer. The human face is formed around day 20 of the pregnancy in a 20-hour window. Okay? What that means is if mom stops drinking on day 18 and starts drinking on day 22, there's no facial damage. And the facial damage that we commonly see is they have a flatness right here. There's some difference in the cheekbones, the difference in size of where the eyes are shaped and where the ears are. But that is about 1 to 3%. Most of the people with fetal alcohol look like me. Whatever the word normal means, most of the people with fetal alcohol have no facial damage.
But on the inside.
Hmm?
On the inside, they do.
Well, no, the damage is in the brain,
In the brain.
not in the face.
Oops.
It's okay.
I meant brain.
It's okay. I make lots of mistakes. You're doing fine.
We all do.
What's your next question?
Okay. Are there any severe facial deformation and more brain loss when the mother drinks heavily?
Yes, and there's some tremendous pictures you can find on the internet. Her name is Dr. Kathy Sulick, and she's at the Bowles Institute for Alcohol Studies at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. For the last 25 years, she has been feeding pregnant mice drops of alcohol. She can create any birth defect you want. And she has shown that this bit of alcohol on this day creates this effect. This bit of alcohol on this day creates this effect. And the rule is quite simple. Extreme amounts of alcohol almost all women miscarry. They don't go to pregnancy all the way through. But the problem is not the extremes. It's the social drinking. It's going to my sister's wedding, it's going out with the girls, having a few drinks here and there, and not knowing you're pregnant. Dr. Sterling Claren, who's the world expert, says there's only one true statement about alcohol in pregnancy. No alcohol equals no risk, because the factors are quite complicated. Could be genetics, could be your health, could be how much you drink, on the days you drink. All kinds of different things affect it. And the only thing you can do is, if you're deciding to have children,
Don't drink.
exactly.
Okay. Let's see another question here.
I was wondering if I could show you something. I've been thinking about this, and I brought this orange. A lot of people don't know how fetal alcohol actually happens. And what happens is, and it's really quite scary, Mom drinks alcohol, and the alcohol goes into the baby's blood. Okay? The blood circulates in the brain. What happens is, this is one brain cell. Okay? And so the alcohol surrounds this one brain cell. Do you remember on the edge of that disc?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that one brain cell has now got alcohol all the way around it. Well, alcohol is a very slippery molecule, and the alcohol slips inside of this brain's membrane or outer wall, and then you have alcohol on the inside and the outside of the cell wall. And Dr. Ed Riley at San Diego State University says what happens called cell death. When the alcohol is on both sides of the cell wall, the cell goes like this. It's just not there anymore. So if you're depending on this cell to grow up and be your memory cells, it's not there. And so what happens is it starts cell by cell in the very early stages of brain development. Is that helpful?
Yes, it is.
I know.
Very helpful.
Good. Next. You're doing great.
Thanks.
You should be on CBS or something.
Does FASD affect emotions, like making the child cry more, or being very happy, or an on and off emotion phase like bipolar?
I think that's the most important question. It's going to take me a few minutes to get there, okay? So there are two types of disabilities, primary and secondary. Primary disabilities are the ones that are a result of the missing brain cells. Lack of impulse control, immaturity, memory problems, attention problems, learning problems, social skill problems, okay? What happens is, as a result of the brain damage, the brain is unable to do the right thing at the right time. If you're unable to do the right thing at the right time, eventually, people don't want you around. You're a screw up. You're doing the wrong things all the time. You're saying the wrong things. What happens is the person becomes a square peg in a round hole. It's uncomfortable. You keep making social mistakes. You keep forgetting things. You do the wrong thing, you say the wrong thing, you get in trouble. Now comes the emotions. And this is the most important thing. The single biggest problem that people with fetal alcohol have are two things: anxiety and frustration. If you can't remember what to do, if you can't remember how to tie your tie, if you can't remember how to tie your shoelaces, if you can't remember where you live, if you can't remember how to behave in certain social situations, you get very anxious. And when you get anxious, your heart rate goes up, you get excited, and you make more bad decisions. If you don't fit in, you're frustrated. Things are just not going well. And we know from long-term studies by the University of Washington that people with fetal alcohol have more mental health problems.
Okay.
Excuse me. No, I've got a cold. I've got a few minutes to live. We better hurry up.
Oh God.
We know that they have more mental health problems. We know that people with fetal alcohol are the biggest single population in our prisons. We know people with fetal alcohol have more difficulties, and these difficulties affect their mental health. When your mental health is affected, your emotional health is. If you want to have friends, and most of what you do pushes people away, this is not a good thing. And so you get a lot of people with fetal alcohol getting involved in criminals because they think they're their friends. You know, and it's really kind of crazy thinking. But we are social creatures. It is very hard to live in the world by yourself. It's lonely. And there's nothing worse than a broken heart. And so what do people do to avoid a broken heart? Well, they self-medicate with alcohol or drugs. They self-medicate with watching crazy video games 23 hours a day. Or they get involved in crime or do other things because that way they have friends. So yes, the emotional part of fetal alcohol is the part that causes us the most problems, because there are many things that you can have. The English Medical Journal published an article last month, and it listed 420 other medical conditions that happen if you have fetal alcohol. So it's not a simple question. That's a lot of stuff going on.
It's a lot.
It is. I mean, look at some of the struggles you've had and how well you've done. And look at some of the other people you know and look how well they've not done. It's not easy, is it? No, it's bloody hard work. And I think you'll have to admit with me that the reason that you've been so successful is look at all the support you have. Hey? How many people in the world are in jail, Garth, because they didn't have support?
Too many.
I agree. Absolutely.
How does the brain work during the effects of FASD while still developing in the womb?
Okay, we've talked a little bit about that, but this is very important. What happens is to the developing brain cells have a plan in the brain, in the genetics. Brains have to develop along a certain way. If you come along and you're expecting to find brain cell 87, and it's not there, often what happens is the brain will connect to another part of the brain. And it's the wrong connection. And so instead of being able to, for example, improve memory, you're now building a brain that has deficits in memory. It could be a deficit in your balance. It could be a deficit in how you see colors or how you like certain things around your neck. And sometimes they're very specific. And so what happens is when the baby is born, it's born with a brain that is missing pieces, and it's born with a brain where the brain cells are often connected to the wrong brain cells. So how difficult is that going to be to learn with missing pieces and bad connections?
Very hard.
Very hard. And often you have kids with fetal alcohol with a whole list of learning disabilities. And I think at the bottom of all of that is difficulties with memory, especially under stress. Most people find exams stressful. A kid with fetal alcohol, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Next question.
Next question.
Choose a good one. Give me your best one.
Ooh, let's see. Do people and children with FASD have any schedules, eating habits, sleeping problems, trouble paying attention, learning, and hearing problems?
Let's talk about the big word. The big word with kids with fetal alcohol is schedule.
Schedule.
They love schedules. They need to know that this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen for a couple of reasons. If you have a schedule, you don't have to remember stuff. And if you know you're going to forget stuff, it's helpful to have a schedule. A lot of kids with fetal alcohol end up in jail. They do quite well in jail. I mean, horrible things happen to them in jail. I'm not telling you to go to jail, guys. But in jail, you eat at a certain time, you sleep at a certain time, you stand up at a certain time, and they tell you what to do. Many kids with fetal alcohol find jail quite comfortable for a couple of reasons. They're warm, they're fed. The problem is that they think they have all these friends. But they don't quite realize that all these friends are really criminals. And so it becomes a little bit difficult. But the scheduling of a person with fetal alcohol gives them predictability. Because one of the problems that kids have with fetal alcohol is they have difficulty predicting. They can't understand that what they did Monday is going to happen on Wednesday. So we have to do the same stuff. You know, and so you see all kinds of problems if you can't use your memory.
What about choosing, like choices? Like, should I do, or not should I do, like, let's say in a video game, I want to do the right thing, and I want to do this right thing. This right thing might cost a lot of lives, and this one, it won't cost any.
Well, that's a very interesting question, because something with fetal alcohol we've noticed over the years. And we've noticed that kids, they may know what the number 7 means, but they don't understand the difference between $7 and $70. So the notion of value is quite a sophisticated brain thing. To know that the broccoli cost $1.50, that's the cost of broccoli. Oh, but Mom, I paid $10 for the broccoli. Well, you paid too much money. And it's a very difficult concept. How much is your brother's truck worth? How much is your mother's car worth? They're two different numbers, but they're of value. And so one of the problems we have with people with fetal alcohol is they often don't manage their money well. They often don't understand when someone says something that they're being lied to. They don't often understand when someone is taking advantage of them. Many of the people with fetal alcohol, especially in jails, are horribly taken advantage of. You know, like people over and over again, you hear these stories of people with fetal alcohol trusting people and losing all their money. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
See, no. I think we're just about almost done here.
Well, take all the time you need.
Make them up.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. What would you like to know about fetal alcohol, personally?
Personally, can a person change from acting like they have FASD and then learning to develop to become very sophisticated,
Yes.
smart?
Yes. I have met people with fetal alcohol that fly airplanes, are welders, are lawyers, are truck drivers, are plumbers, and there are two things they need. Okay? They need a little bit of luck. But mostly what they need, what Dr. Claren calls the external brain. And an external brain, your mom,
Support.
supports.
Supports.
Jay, Louie, various people around you say, Garth, whoa, no, Garth, bad idea, Garth. And after a while, if you have lots of support, and, this is the big one, if it's identified young with a diagnosis, then the interventions. Now let me tell you about interventions. This is the most important thing. Put your hand up like this. The top of the spinal cord is the original brain. It's called the snake brain. The snake brain is in charge of digestion, excretion, heart and lungs, sex, and fight or flight. The snake brain, I had too much ice cream. The snake brain is a basic brain. On top of the snake brain, in the terms of human development, is the dog brain. Now the dog brain is where the limbic system is. We'll come back to that in a minute. Dogs are a huge improvement over snakes. There's some of the German Shepherds and French Poodles are incredibly talented dogs. On top of the, developmentally, on top of the dog brain are the two hemispheres of the chimpanzee brain. Okay? Now we come to the human brain. What separates humans from everybody else is this big thing here, this frontal lobe. Now this frontal lobe, that writes music and poetry. That's the brain that put a man on the moon. That's the brain that allows you to drive down the road. That's the brain that allows you to remember all the things, the good things your mom told you. That's this brain. Well, here's what happens. The emotional brain is the dog brain. And Garth, that's the brain of friendship. That's the brain of love. That's the brain of your emotions, of an affection. That's the brain of relationship. And we have learned in fetal alcohol, people who do well because they have people who love them. People with fetal alcohol that have people who love them, that have support, because support and love is in the dog brain. It's like this. You can imagine this is the dog. It's not. It's an orange.
Yeah.
But just imagine it's a dog.
Yes.
How many times do you sit down and you stroke your dog and you feel better? Right? You do.
Yeah.
You pet your dog or a chihuahua or whatever it is. And that is what happens in the limbic system. When you're sitting down with a friend of yours, you put your arm around a friend of yours and you watch a movie, what happens? Your heart and lung rate goes down. You're more comfortable. Okay? And that is what everybody wants. Everybody, Garth. Everybody wants to matter. Everybody wants to be somebody to somebody. And the way you do that is with your emotions, with your relationship. And so we have found with people with fetal alcohol, if they have friends, good family, and support, they do very well. People without support always end up in jail. It's that simple. So how do you stay out of jail?
Support?
You get lucky and have good family. You have good support. And you allow yourself to have your emotions. Because your life is mostly frustration and mostly anxiety. So like I was telling you about that breathing technique, about learning to breathe. That's the most important thing you can learn in your life, Garth. Because what that does is it lowers your anxiety, lowers your frustration, and when your anxiety and your frustration is low, you can get along with other people. And if you can get along with other people, they will help you. Because you have a good heart. Now, before we go, you have any last questions you want to ask?
Yes. It's part of the question. Where is it?
Take your time, take a deep breath.
Do any people with FASD have any drinking problems?
I would say that's the wrong question, but generally speaking, do blondes have more drinking problems than people with dark hair? It's not related.
Not really.
Where the drinking problem comes in is the poor decision making. Now, are you asking me, do people with fetal alcohol make bad decisions? Yes, they do. And they make bad decisions because their brain is missing pieces. But it doesn't mean they're going to be drinking. Some people don't like the taste of it.
I hate the taste of it.
Drinking is often a social thing. You get together, you watch the football game, you have a couple of beers with your friends. But often drinking is a way of giving yourself medication because you're anxious, you're frustrated. And a lot of people like to forget their pain, so they drink too much. And I'm sure you know people like that.
Yep.
And it's not pleasant to watch, is it?
No, it is not.
And you see them making the same mistake over and over again. And you see that they don't have friends. But they can't make the connection, can they? They can't make the connection between drinking too much, behaving badly, and not having friends. The reason you're a fine young man, I know you've done a lot of work, is how much work has your mother and father done?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Look at the friends you have. That's the reason you're successful. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Anything else you want to ask?
No, I think we're just about done here.
Okay.
Well, thank you for watching this video and interview about FASD, Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder. And I have hope you understand and like this video and, most importantly, understand this disability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,